The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
We've all experienced tragedies and go through circumstances that sometimes keep us far down. Sometimes we can't even see our way out or above. But coming up on this edition of Perspectives, one woman's story of how she overcame domestic violence, child abuse, and even kidnapping. Coming up on Perspectives with yours truly, Darren Jaime, so stay with us.
Let them know. What's on your mind? What's on your mind? Let them know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective?
Hello, everyone. I'm Darren Jaime. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives, and we thank you for watching and sharing with us as we can every week. Perspectives airs live here on BronxNet's Channel 67. Well, our guest in studio today is a certified positive psychology practitioner, a professional life coach. For years, she's relegated to groups such as the NYPD Citywide Domestic Violence Unit, the New York Agency for Children's Services, better known as ACS Foster Care Population, as well as Bronx Independent Living Services, Domestic Violence, as well as handicapped clients, and the Department of Corrections Prison Population. She also is a psychology professor at CUNY York College, but her most valuable experience comes from her own travails. Her extraordinary and transformational life journey is outstanding. She joins me now to talk about a new program she's launching called Bounce Back Bold, and we welcome now Miss Charmaine Jenkins back to the show. And Charmaine, good to have you.
Good to be back.
Good to have you. We had you at the start of the year before, and you had
Yeah.
shared a little bit about how to get your life in order and stuff like that, and how things been going.
Pretty good. I'm trying to get my life in order.
And
It's a
helping others.
never-ending process.
For all of us. For
Yes,
all of us. So
absolutely.
it's good to have you here. And so you got this thing called, the new program called Bounce Back Bold. And I want you to take a little bit of time and just share with us a little bit about Bounce Back Bold and what you're up to.
Well, I'm launching a teleseminar series, a 5-night teleseminar series around post-traumatic growth, which is essentially a psychological concept around using your tragedies to build on and actually creating a life that's better for yourself than the one you had prior to the tragedy. So we're going to have, it's going to be a couple of hours every night, and we're going to build, it's a building block for a longer program. We're going to build on mindsets, and we'll discuss that some today, hopefully, and the different mindsets that you have that can either help you or hinder you in terms of your growth and your ability to rise above your circumstances. And one of the things I'm really happy about within that is I'm going to have 5 different speakers, and each of them have gone through like seriously traumatic events. Have a person who lost a leg, a guy who lost a leg in a motorcycle accident, and now he's a big fitness instructor, and he's getting ready to do a triathlon right after our program. He does triathlons. I have a young lady who lost her daughter in a car accident. True Rodriguez, Billy Davis is the first guy. True Rodriguez lost her daughter, and then she now writes plays and stuff, and it's built off of the healing process that she went through with that. I have a woman, Lucinda Cross, who went to prison for 4 years and came out, and now she's a best-selling author. She does huge programs around vision boarding and creating vision for yourself and leadership. Who else did I have? It's so good. I have a woman, Heather Hughes, who her husband ended up cheating on her with her daughter's godmother, destroyed her marriage and her business that she had with the husband, and how she bounced back from that financial and the heartbreak of it all, and created like a huge styling business for herself. And I'm gonna think of the 5th person and tell you later.
Okay, come back to me. But when you talk about post-traumatic growth, a lot of people are familiar with PTSD.
Right.
But then when you talk about post-traumatic growth, how do you define that?
Much like I said, and that's the good thing. I'm glad you brought that up because post-traumatic stress is what most people know. So that's what most people use as their Geiger counter to determine their health or not. And oftentimes when they're going through normal, healthy processes, they look at it and figure they must be suffering from PTSD because they're not out here jumping around. They don't realize that stress, de-stress, and growth can coexist together and often do. And the beautiful thing about people understanding about post-traumatic growth is that they will understand that there's processes that you go through, and some of them look ugly, but it doesn't mean that you're not on the road to growth. And if you can tweak your mindsets some and be really cognizant of how you're thinking, then it will help facilitate that even faster. So it's really about understanding the processes of grief and growth and understanding that they coexist together, and then being able to build and move on from there.
So if we wanted, for a few seconds, give us a couple of the tools that you can have so that when we talk about growth and having post-traumatic growth, what are some of the tools that people need to know so to be able to overcome and get there?
Well, primarily and preliminarily, it's really a lot about your mindsets. Like there are so many juxtaposed mindsets that serve you and don't serve you. A few facts versus beliefs, right? Being able to distinguish between those. A lot of people hold their beliefs like they're facts, and then they interact with those beliefs as if they're facts. So I could have a belief about being a size 2. That is not a fact. You know, beliefs change. Facts don't. Facts stay the same. You can have a belief about people, you can have a belief about your situation, but it's not a fact. And if you're interacting with your beliefs that way, then you're going to create a life for yourself that's not built on anything solid that can take you down a path to destruction. Another important distinction is like scarcity versus abundance. You know, a lot of people operate from a scarcity mindset. So if they're coming from that place, oftentimes fear is what's driving them, and it's helping them determine what they're going to do, and it's based on a belief that there's not enough. That's why there's the fear, because if there's not enough of money, if there's not enough resources, if there's not enough time, if there's not enough men, you know, whatever it is, if you're walking around thinking there's not enough and you're operating in that scarcity mindset, you're going to behave differently. And ultimately, the belief there becomes, I'm not enough, right? Because if you were enough, oftentimes things would be available to you that you don't think are available to you because you're not enough, as opposed to an abundance mindset where that's built off of trust and that you trust there is enough. So there always, it's a universe of abundance. There's enough for everybody, although most people operate from a place of scarcity. That's why they hoard money and everything else, their affection and, you know, their emotions. So if you have an abundance mindset, you really feel like you are enough. And so that means you're even enough to survive any circumstance and situation that you might go through. And that will change how you operate and perceive yourself too, which will lead you on a whole nother trajectory as well.
We'll come back and take a quick break. We've got Charmaine Jenkins here, and she is sharing with us some tools. And she's got a show that she's coming out, Bounce Back Bold. We want you to find out more about that program. And we're going to introduce you to that and get you locked into that. And then also she's going to share some more tools and strategies with us. So don't go away. We're coming right back right after this.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Continue our conversation. Our guest in studio, Charmaine Jenkins, and she's giving us a little bit of the tools that you need for life. And she's sharing a little bit, and we were sharing before the break some of the things that can help you to really get to post-traumatic growth. And if you don't know what post-traumatic growth is, well, stay connected to us and we'll give you a little bit more information. But before the break, you were breaking down some things. And I know that as you were breaking down some things, you were sharing with us some things that people can really do to deal. And one of the things I know that you talk about and you deal with is called the issue of pain. And you use pain from an acronym perspective.
Yeah, I feel like when you feel pain, it's not that you have to look outside of yourself to try to determine where it's coming from. The acronym I have for pain is pay attention inward now, right? Your pain is generally generated from your thoughts and your pain inside. So you need to look at what's going on inside of you, which comes along with this whole mindset thing, right? Because if the thoughts that you're thinking and the story that you're telling yourself about yourself are crippling and they're disempowering, and if you're looking at yourself from a scarcity place and have all these beliefs and other different mindsets, which we'll discuss, that will create the pain for you. It's not generally your circumstances or situations that create your pain. It's your thought processes and the decisions you make around them that create the pain for you.
And when you talk about mindsets is one of the most important things I think you talk about in terms of changing your trajectory. That if your mind is really going to be the key in fixing those things. And I know one of the things that you really address is a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So explain the difference between both, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset.
I'm obsessed with fixed and growth mindset. Obsessed with it. I think it's so foundational. So basically what it is fixed mindsets mean that you feel like characteristics can't change. Everything is the same. So if you're dumb, you're dumb. If you're smart, you're smart. And so if you have that kind of mindset, oftentimes it's going to keep you from even attempting to change. If you made a decision about who you are, what your life is, what other people are, what your circumstances and situations are, and you feel like that's fixed, there'll be no changes. A growth mindset, however, feels like that characteristics and circumstances are malleable, so they can change. And generally through some kind of effort on your part, you can increase them. So maybe you're not really good at math. So if you study harder or get a better strategy on how to study and how to approach the subject, you'll be better. And so when you have a growth mindset, that opens up so many more possibilities for you, right? You no longer feel like this is it for you, as opposed to if you have a fixed mindset, then you're like stuck.
And when you have a fixed mindset, how hard is it to deal as opposed to that of the growth mindset?
It almost becomes, some people give up, right? Some people will give up because they're like, hey, it's never going to change. And another thing that happens oftentimes, if people have a fixed mindset and they're excelling in certain ways, then they won't even try anything else, because if being good at this means that I'm smart or, I'm healthy in terms of my intellect and my abilities, then what happens when struggle is involved? Then that means that I'm not smart and something's wrong with me, if you're defining yourself that way, because they're very definitive when people who have fixed mindsets. So oftentimes they could be excelling on one level, but you won't even try to get to another level because it requires effort, and you don't want people to think that you struggle, because you don't want people to think there's something wrong with you, which is how people stay in relationships, in jobs, in communities. They don't want to leave outside of where they are safely defined.
The comfort zone.
The comfort zone.
Right.
Which is your danger zone.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. When the comfort zone becomes your danger zone.
It usually is. More often than not.
I'm tweeting that as soon as we're done.
Okay. Can I get credit?
You get credit.
Okay.
You get credit.
I
That's
get
it.
credit.
That's it. Let me ask you about this, because one of the other things that people do is that really causes them to stay stuck is the victim mentality.
Right.
And I know you address the victim mentality when you talk about being a victim versus being responsible.
Yeah, victim versus responsible. So a lot of people are looking out again outside themselves. I have a friend I was talking to, you know, everything is the somebody else's fault, right? When he argues, him and the girlfriend broke up because the girlfriend wasn't, you know, supportive of him. Not the fact that he couldn't keep a job, right? And didn't have anything to do with that. And he didn't keep a job because the managers always had something wrong with them or the situation. It wasn't him being unreliable and whatever. So it's like you're blaming other people for what you do. You don't want to take responsibility. You deny the responsibility of things that are happening to you. You might ignore problems when you see them, and you'll just never take any action because it doesn't have to do with you, versus being responsible. Somebody who's responsible, they are able to respond to the circumstances and situations which they are in. They take everything full on. So when there's an issue or a problem, they say, where is my part in this happening? You know, and that's a sign of maturity. It's really not age that shows maturity. It's really when you take responsibility for your life that shows that you're mature. So people who are responsible will do that. They will not try to blame other people. They look where they are. They try to find solutions to their problems. They're not waiting around for other people to do it. You know, I had a friend who passed away, and she had a disease that she basically could have regulated, sarcoidosis. They told her, eat right, get sleep, don't drink, don't smoke. She didn't stop any of that stuff. And a few months before she died, and she had been in victim mode like all her life, and a few months before she died, I was like, why didn't you just do what they told you to do? And she was like, I just thought maybe it would just go away. Right.
Failure to take responsibility.
Failure to take responsibility, failure to take actions to try to handle or change her situation. And it's that's a really, huge and somber example, but that's what we do all the time. There are people sitting around in their lives every day who aren't taking responsibility for it. Meanwhile, other people are applying different solutions to what's going on. They're identifying where they can, and they just keep trying. Even if it doesn't work out, they are actively engaged in trying to change their situation.
And even in that, they get results. Like, listen, I gotta take a quick break. We got Charmaine Jenkins here learning a whole lot right now. Listen, stay with us coming back. She's gonna give us some ways that you can catch up with her, connect with her on her new journey. We'll be right back right after this.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund Reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
And we're back here on Perspectives. Our guest in studio, Charmaine Jenkins, and she's got a new program that's going to be coming out called Bounce Back Bold, and going to give you some information about that throughout the course of this show, and she'll let you know at the end of the show where you can actually see and get connected to it. But she's sharing with us some real tips for post-traumatic growth. We're often familiar with post-traumatic stress disorder, but now we're coming at you from a different perspective. You like that, right? Post-traumatic growth. And so as we're sharing a little bit, I want to get to a couple more points that you have, because you talk about in order to have post-traumatic growth, you have to know the difference between urgency and desperation?
Yeah, a lot of this is mindsets based on it. But yeah, urgency versus desperation. What place are you acting from, right? Urgency is imperative if you want. Life is happening now, right? You can't just sit around I'll get to it. No, like if you look at different races and look at the importance of seconds, like time matters. So are you coming from a place where you understand that life is happening now and you're going to move urgently to create what it is you're looking to create? Are you coming from a place of desperation, which is scarcity based, right? Oh my God, if I don't get this, if I don't do this, that's how people end up in bad relationships, bad jobs, bad financial situations, because they're coming from a place of desperation. It's a have to, and most of life isn't a have to, it's a get to, right? I get to do things. I don't have to do much of anything. But theirs is like, if I don't do this, then this is going to happen. And it seldom leads to any healthy results.
And the other one you talk about is forgiveness versus acceptance.
Right. A lot of people aren't forgiving people, and they're walking around bearing the burden for other people's sins, right? There's a big difference between accepting it, all right, whatever, as opposed to really taking a deep look at the whys of something and letting it go, understanding that, and that includes with ourselves, right? Understanding that we make mistakes, we do things from our pain, we have unhealthy perspectives that lead us into different directions in terms of our actions. So you want to really forgive people and let the stuff go. You alluded to my childhood in the opening. And so when my father died, and my father died a tragic death, he ended up homeless and somebody set him on fire, right, while he was asleep on a park bench. But the thing that I realized a year or two ago is in his last breaths, he asked the police to call me. And I grew up in a household with domestic violence, with a father who kidnapped me in attempts to try to make my mother come back. And I forgave him because I realized there had to be a huge amount of brokenness that would make somebody do those things and behave that way and try to rationalize it, think that those were sane decisions to make. And so by the time he died, I had no angst against him. I didn't feel anything. When I looked at him, I saw his pain. And I really, felt nothing but empathy for him and sympathy. So it really dawned on me how much, important forgiveness was, that in his hour of need, he knew that I would come for him in spite of everything he'd done. If I had just accepted him and just been I would have been whatever.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. And that's very important to your growth, to learn the difference.
Forgiveness versus acceptance. We only have a few minutes left, but I do know that you always talk about the power is also in asking questions, because questions really can make the difference. I got a friend who consistently asks questions, and sometimes it gets under my skin, but I recognize that there's some real great information that's in asking questions.
Right, and a lot of it is asking the right questions of yourself, right? Because if you look at it, your whole life is based on questions. When you got dressed this morning, you asked questions. What am I doing today? What's the weather like? What's clean?
Right.
What do I feel like I look cute in? Who am I meeting with? And then you answered those questions, and the result of that is your outfit. And I love to use this example, in early civilization, the nomads, their question was, where do we have to be to get to water? And that's how they moved around. Where's the water at? But when they asked the question, how do we get water to come to us? Their whole decision-making changed, and so did their lifestyle. And so people have to be careful what kind of questions they're asking. Your questions are leading you down the path to your decisions all day long. And so again, are they empowering questions? Are they disempowering questions? If there's an area of your life that's not working, you have not asked the right questions.
So what kind of questions do you ask?
Well, there's two paths, and the destructive path are judger questions. What's wrong with me? How come I can never? What's wrong with them?
Right.
Right? Why doesn't anybody like me? Those are judger questions. They will lead you into what's like a judger pit. You'll get stuck in the mud, as opposed to learner questions. What is it about this person that I need to tap into so that we could develop a better relationship? What do I value about myself? Am I being responsible right here? Those questions will open you up to finding different kinds of answers, and it will lead you down a path to growing and being able to expand yourself and move towards the things that you want, not towards what you don't want.
You have a wealth of knowledge, and we're about to get up out of this segment, but in this show, I want people to be able to tap into you to find out more about what you got coming up. So tell people what you got coming up, how to get tapped into you, because this stuff here is really life-changing if people could just embrace it and just really catch on to it.
It really is.
So how can they do that?
So my program, Bounce Back Boldly. You keep saying bold. I'm going to correct you.
I'm sorry, bold. Okay.
Bounce Back Boldly. It's offered on my website, which is www.reinventionnow.com. Want me to say it again?
Go ahead.
www.reinventionnow.com.
Hey, that's at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead.
Okay, great. And my IG and Twitter is manifest_coach. And the Facebook is manifest.coach. There's a lot to remember, I know. But if you find the manifest and the underscore and the dot and the coach, you'll find me. So my program is going to start July 10th, which will be next week, I believe. And it's going to be 5 nights, 2 hours. And I'm clear that transformation ain't for punks.
That's it.
And I know that 10 hours isn't going to change anybody immediately, and that's why I'm going to offer a bigger program. But what I also know is if you can change your way of thinking and learn that, you'll change your life.
Charmaine Jenkins, our guest in the studio. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Hey, you got to come back again and share some more?
I'm here.
All right, that's what we talk about. Charmaine Jenkins, our guest in the studio. Listen, we invite you to stay connected to us here at Perspectives every week where we bring you news and information. And if you want to get in touch with Charmaine, she gave you the information. And of course, you can always watch the rebroadcast of this and get more information, and then watch it again, and get some more, and let it sink in. But listen, for all of us here on the Center Perspectives, I'm Darren Hyman saying thanks for watching. Until the next time we meet, stay safe, share your perspective with somebody else. It just might make a difference in somebody else's life. Take care.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Express what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.